Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to the Baked Books. So today I am coming at you with my Booktubeathon Wrap Up. Booktubeathon happened. I have a lot of feelings. So I did it. I did all 7 challenges and I read all 7 books. I didn't do any of like the YouTube challenges or the Instagram stuff. I was like very absent from Booktube and Bookstagram because I was reading. Like I was reading 7 books in 7 days. That is such an exhausting thing, and it really was kind of like a marathon where some points I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like this isn't fun right now. And other times I was just like, I got like emotional. I was like, I just like reading so much. Some of these books, it wasn't even like particular moments, like loving reading so much and just like my heart being so warm with joy that I could appreciate this art form so much. It sounds so cheesy, but it really was like, and I feel like I had moments like that happen after like I read a really shit book, which I don't know if it would have like happened otherwise if I would have read something like at my normal speed, you know, and it also kept me from like DNFing like a really bad book. I read a 1-star book and I would not have finished it if it wasn't for Booktubeathon, and I was kind of pissed off about that. I was like, this is dumb. I'm reading something I don't want to because I want to do this 7 days, 7 books challenge, and did a lot of my reading in the morning. I think I maybe did like an hour of reading in the morning. Sometimes it like cut into my workout, which is okay, and sometimes it was like during my workout, and then maybe like 2 hours in the afternoon, and then maybe like another 2 hours at night. So yeah, maybe like 3 to 5 hours a day I was reading. I was planning on like counting up all of the pages that I read, but then I was like, I don't really like care enough. Let's just do some little baby reviews of everything I read. So the first book I read for Booktubeathon was Fitness Junkie by Lucy Sykes and Joe Piazza. I thought this was pretty interesting. It's kind of this, it's a satire. It's like one of those, I'm rich in New York, I have a trust fund kind of thing. She's like 50-year-old woman. It's just like bouge-tastic. Everything about this is like super bougie. There was some parts that I really liked. Like the ending was really funny. Like she just did all these like crazy workout stuff, and then you find out at the end why everybody's all fanatic about this one workout. Was thinking I was gonna give it 4 stars, but then I kind of like, I don't know, I like kind of went before 3 and 4 stars because I did enjoy reading it. But there's this paragraph in here that really bothered me, and it's like, I don't know if it was like complete plagiarism, but I heard Roxane Gay say something on This American Life, like that was almost like word for word. So the context is this woman is in eating disorder group of sorts, and this woman talks about like when she was fat, she had issues going to restaurants, and she would Google them before she got there so she could make sure that there was enough room for her to get between the tables and go to the bathroom, and her greatest fear was breaking a chair. And I literally remember on This American Life episode, Roxane Gay saying the exact same thing. And I don't know if it's like popular enough that it's like, oh, duality of thinking or whatever people call it, but it just kind of like struck me as like cringy. I was just like, ooh, did you just like steal someone's interview and put it in your book? And there's also like some other things in here that, I don't know, I read a lot of these like New York girl contemporaries. It wasn't like insanely original, but there was some original things in it. So I think I'm just gonna settle with a 3-star on this one, but it's pretty good. The Westingame. I read this one when I was in school, like maybe like middle school, and I absolutely loved it, and I thought it was such a fun book. And I was reading it again, and I was like, I probably had no idea what was happening when I was reading this as a kid, because this doesn't make any sense to me. It's like super info dumpy. There's so many characters, and it just kind of like jumps around a lot. And then people you think are dead aren't really dead, and I don't know who done it, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I just did not enjoy this book. This is where I like was kind of like, what am I doing? Why am I making myself read this? And I ended up giving this one 2 stars. Yeah, I just didn't really enjoy it. And then the third book I read was We Were Liars. 1 star. Oh my God, what was that? Like, I picked this out as my hype book. Not enjoy that at all. Kind of enjoyed it because like in the terms of like, it was so bad. There's like little like poetry snippets, and like the lines, the sentences wouldn't be full sentences, but instead they would just be like, and I bled, and he bled me, and I was gushing blood everywhere. It was like super emo, and I was like, oh, okay. And then you're trying to wonder, like there's this mystery, this girl like blacks out this big event, that happens in her life, and then you find out what it is in the end, and it's probably the dumbest thing I've ever read. It just seems like there's absolutely like no plot in the whole book. It's just like, la 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 la, I'm finding myself, mummy's rich, and mummy's relatives fight over the granddaddy's mummy. Oh yeah, it's not even mommy, it's mummy, granddaddy, like, no. And they have like a private island, and then there's like a tragedy that happens at the end, and then it's just like, that whole thing just shouldn't have happened, because anybody with any sort of like rationale would have not let that happen, because that's just like, that's just not proper thinking. And then you're just like, man, if I thought my character was annoying before, like, I think she's a goddamn idiot now. That's like the first 1 star I've read for a really long time. Maybe like a year, maybe even 2 years. I think it was a year. I think the last one I read was like a nonfiction about body language, and it just said really weird stuff about women and how they present their chest. I definitely wouldn't have like finished a 1 star, but like I was kind of like, I had like this moment, I was like, what am I doing with my life? Why, what? But honestly, like, this is how I ended up with these books. So I just moved here, and I went to the library, and I just like put books on hold that I knew would be short and I could read, and like didn't have a super hold list. And that's what came to me in time, The Westing Game and We Were Liars. And I was like, all right, here we go. Then I read Persepolis 2. I was kind of disappointed by this. I really connected with the first one, and I really loved it, and I felt like this one was kind of like a regurgitation of the first one. I don't know, just not as interesting maybe. I just had a harder time like connecting like I did with the first one. Like, the first one I was just like, preach, hallelujah, yes, yes, yes. But this one, it was more of like a, all right, yeah. Just wasn't a really deep reaction like I had with the first one. It happens, and that was fine. I gave this like a 3 star. There's a third one that's about her childhood, which I think I'd be really interested in because it's her childhood in Iran. I think it'd be really interesting. A Million Junes by Emily Henry. This was my favorite book of Booktubeathon, and like I was just so enchanted by this book. I had like a moment when I was reading this, and I was just like, yes, reading is so cool. I love reading. I just like absolutely love this book, and I wasn't expecting to like this. I thought it was gonna be like, okay, because it's like a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and I'm usually not like super into that kind of stuff. It's just really killer, like really imaginative. The character building was really cool. There's, you know, it is a love story, and they're both cute. And like I found myself like really rooting for them and really touched by everything. And you know, it's just like a good story. The two families that don't get along and blah, blah, blah. They're cursed, and you find out why they're cursed. And there's a lot of like generational drama in here too, which I love generational drama. This is just a complete 5 star for me. This is one of the best books that I've read this year. And maybe it might be on my top 10 list ever. Like I really, really, really loved this book. A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline L'Engle. I listened to this on audio, except for like the last 5 pages I read. I was like, I can just read these right now because I had a long commute. This is a 5 star, which I was really happy about because I was nervous. Because after I read The Westing Game, I was like, man, what if like my choice in books sucked when I was a kid? And what if like A Wrinkle in Time really isn't good? But no, it is just so lovely through and through. And on audio, it's fantastic. There is a foreword by Madeline L'Engle, and she is saying how when she was producing her manuscript to different publishers, they were saying like, kids won't understand this. Why would you pick something like this? This is too complicated for kids. And she's like, I read this to my kids every night and they understand it. Kids will understand this. Adults will have a hard time wrapping their heads around it. And I feel like that's such a good point, because this is a book that like taught me about dimensions when I was a kid, when like adults couldn't, but it's just like so simple. Yeah, so this is basically like how they show dimensions. Just like the concept of tesserating and making a tesseract is just so exciting and lovely, and this is really good on audio. Like, she has some really kooky voices for people. Why, my Mrs. Who? It's really, really cute, and I really loved it. And then the last book I read was My Favorite Thing is Monsters. I was afraid that I would not get through this because I knew it was like kind of dense, and I was like, I don't know, I might want to take time with it. But it starts out dense, and there's like a lot of stuff going on in the beginning, and I feel like that's maybe like my one criticism of it is it's a little too dense when you first start out. This is just like the most original thing that I've ever read. Almost intimidating how brilliant she is and just how she is able to construct worlds and the intersection of like art and narrative and humor and love and like complex characters. It's just like, it's one of those times, I don't know if you guys ever have them, but like when you just like see a good piece of art or like a really good movie or like, you know, read a really good book and you're just like, nope, I'm not trying anymore. Like whatever I can do will be so much inferior to this. So it's like kind of intimidating in that capacity. I recommended this to somebody and he's reading it and he says that it's too dense for him, and I can totally see how that happens. So I think accessibility with this book might not totally be there for everybody, but if you are into graphic novels and you are into reading and you don't mind like experimental graphic novels and like kind of working, like this isn't an easy thing to get through. You really have to like work through it. I would totally recommend it. It's really gorgeous. The artwork is just stunning and amazing, and it's cool. It all takes place, well, most of it takes place in like uptown Chicago, which is one of my favorite neighborhoods of Chicago. So yeah, like really happy to kind of see like some flashbacks from the 60s there. It doesn't go where you think it's gonna go. It's all I can really say, and I'm really excited for the next one. I hope it continues with this plot line because there's, oh boy, yeah, there's definitely some loose ends at the end of this one, but overall, just 5 out of 5. Killer. All right, that was my Booktubeathon wrap up. I hope you guys, I don't know if I want to say good. I don't know if I want to say I hope you had a good Booktubeathon, because I definitely had moments that weren't good, but were definitely good for my process, I guess, as a person and as a reader and as, you know, whatever, a life liver. Lever. How Booktubeathon was for you, and I will see you guys next time. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe.